Greetings collectors, and welcome to today's retro game review. Today I'd like to take you back to a time when games were simpler than today, and to my mind quite often more entertaining. These were the days when games were taken to market by small studios or even individuals. Every now and again you find that something just worked, even if it was simple, and that's certainly the case with the character that features in today's episode. Join me today as I take a look back at fast food for the Amiga, starring Dizzy the Egg. At a future date I will perhaps make an end-to-end retrospective of the entire Dizzy series, but for now I just want to focus on one of the earlier games that created some great personal memories. For those of you that are living outside of the UK, you may be saying to yourself, Dizzy? What is Dizzy, and why are there so many games? Well, Dizzy the Egg is very much a British institution. If you had a microcomputer or an Amiga back in the 80s, then Dizzy was the egg for you. Created by the Oliver twins, the Dizzy series can be seen as two distinctive channels. There is the core series of games, all with similar platforming puzzle fetch quests, and on the other side are the spin-off games. Dizzy's first outing in the core series was Dizzy the Ultimate Cartoon Adventure for the Spectrum, Commodore 64 and Amstrad CPC in 1987. With the game doing well for itself, the first spin-off game, Fast Food, was released for a number of machines in the same year, the Commodore Amiga version being the most technically advanced of the releases, which you're seeing here. The first spin-off took its lead from Pac-Man. It's essentially a maze game, but with a few quirks thrown in for good measure. You'll notice instantly that the game is really bright and colourful, and the soundtrack is really pleasant to listen to. The aim is simple. All you have to do is collect the items of food and avoid the monsters that will kill you with one hit. Now, this is all very much standard fare for a maze game. It's the attention to detail though that really adds a level of complexity into the gameplay. As with the ghosts in Pac-Man, each item of fast food has its unique behaviour. Burgers are blind, so travel around the maze not knowing where Dizzy is. Chickens will run away from you at all costs. The only way to catch them is by heading them off and trapping them. Pizzas will have a standard wandering mechanic, and the milkshakes have a somewhat suicidal tendency to gravitate towards Dizzy. This all adds up to some great strategy. Typically, you should attempt the chickens first if you can, as they will have more obstacles by the way of the other fast food to be cornered by in the early stages. Of course, there's also power-ups. Magic boots so that you can run faster than any other item on screen. Relish to slow down the monsters, mustard to freeze the monsters, and ketchup to completely destroy the monsters. There's also a range of shields, invisibility, speed-ups and slowdowns. The bottom line is that fast food has so many power-ups and variations in the game mechanics that the game feels incredibly fresh, even 3 decades after its initial launch. It's fair to say that elements clearly borrowed with pride from Pac-Man are only thinly concealed. Elements such as the mini-interludes are very much in the same vein. Personally, it would be an injustice to the game though to just call this a blatant rip-off. You can see where the Oliver twins aspire to inject their own style on the maze-running genre. Dizzy is a really charming little character, and when combined with the cheerful music and novelty food items, there's just something incredibly joyful about this game. In terms of packaging, the Amiga release is really decent. For those that collect the early Codemasters games, you'll be very familiar with the clear case format. These actually build out into a really great game library. The sleeve is really well illustrated and reflects the slightly quirky nature of the Dizzy series as a whole. The back of the sleeve has some interesting elements. Take this endorsement from Zap magazine. Fast food is a classic, very playable. So that's short and to the point. No grand verdict, just very playable. And to tell you the truth, it is. The other features called out really understate the experience in my opinion. Munchmania. Okay, so that's a feature. Multi-level music. Very good. Wacky cartoons. Always appreciated. Over 30 maze scenes. Excellent. That beats a fair number of similar titles in the genre. The disc is of course present, as are the instructions and help numbers, so if you need help with your Rockstar or Little Puff, call these numbers. In terms of pricing, this one was originally sold at £6.99. How do I know? Well, it's plastered all over the cover. In truth, you can pick up the Amiga version for around the £5 price point today. So, is it worth the price of entry, or should you proceed to the drive-thru on this one? Personally, I really enjoy this one. For a first spin-off game in the series, Fast Food does well in taking Dizzy on a very self-contained arcade-style experience. We get to see a bit more humour than the first main game in the series, and a further glimpse of potential into the star that Dizzy was to become in later years. Fast Food is a really well-balanced game, lots to enjoy, lots of variation on a theme, and a really solid experience for a game that was essentially a holding game until the second core game in the series was released. Of course, that day would come. 1 year after Dizzy, the ultimate cartoon adventure, and Fast Food, Dizzy broke out into the second adventure in the core series. To some, the game is known as Dizzy 2, to others, Treasure Island Dizzy. Join me in the next episode as I take a nostalgic look back at the game that propelled this unsupposing egg into the stratosphere of British gaming. It also happens to be one of my favourite games of all time, so will definitely be worth checking out. I'll see you in the next episode for Treasure Island Dizzy. Hello again, I hope you enjoyed today's show and thank you for the view. Remember, you can always comment, like, subscribe and find us on the social media sites below. Happy collecting!